Welcome to Crunching the Numbers. I'm Anthony K. You can find me at sports_fluent on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you're here on the Fired Up Network. This week, we're going to go through the full slate of games, let you know who, I sound like an owl, who is going to be the winner versus the spread. And we'll give you a little insight into each and every team. So let's kick it right off with the Thursday nighter. We've got another great matchup. Last week's proved to be a little bit of a blowout for the Bills. But this week, the Thursday nighter pits an AFC West matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers head into Arrowhead to face the Chiefs, who looked dominant against the Arizona Cardinals last week. The Chiefs are 4-point home favorites, and that should be about what you're going to get. You should get a Chiefs win by about 5. So I'm taking the Chiefs over the Chargers. Listen, I was hesitant coming into the season, looking at Patrick Mahomes without Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce was going to be his main target, which it proved to be in the last week. What would they get out of the running game with Clyde's Edward-Helaire and the rookie who took up the garbage time, but looked to be very, very ready to take on that role. Juju Smith-Schuster replacing Tyreek Hill. What would they get from Mecole Hardman? Just a lot of question marks as to would Patrick Mahomes be able to kind of spread the ball around? He answered all those questions. The defense is still a question mark. However, the Chargers are on the other side of that ball. I feel like there's more question marks on the offensive side for the Chargers, with the exception of quarterback with Justin Herbert. You have Keenan Allen, who's going to be a little banged up. I really like the Chargers defense with Bosa and Khalil Mack leading the way. We'll get to Khalil Herbert in a minute, and Khalil Mack leading the way. So can they slow down Patrick Mahomes in that offense? Yeah, a little bit, but I still think you got the Chiefs in this one. All right. Game number 2. This one would have been a better game if not for the injury of Dak Prescott, but the Cincinnati Bengals travel into Dallas and they're spotting the Cowboys 7.5 points. Looks like Cooper Rush will be the starter. Listen, the Bengals lost a tough one against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. Joe Burrow looked horrible in the first half, giving up 3 interceptions and 5 sacks. But this is going to be that bounce back game for the Cincinnati Bengals. Although I love Micah Parsons on that defense, obviously, who doesn't? He is not going to be enough to slow down the Bengals offense. Now, T. Higgins may be out, so look for Tyler Boyd to have a big game, as well as Joe Mixon. Bengals cover that 7.5 point road spread, which that's actually a big one coming in. But I'm going Chiefs for the first game, Bengals in the second game to cover the 7.5 points. The next one, I'm going to move over so you can see the helmet a little bit. And I'm telling you, my pick is not biased because of that helmet. However, when the Chicago Bears travel into Green Bay to play against Aaron Rodgers, it's not me, it's them. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers will be spotting them 10 points. I guess they didn't watch the games last week. The Packers looked horrible on offense. And this year, let's be honest, they are built on their defense, which I expect to be better than they were against Minnesota last week. But that's the Packers right now. The Packers are a run defense team. I know that's really hard to say when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, but until he gets on the same page with his wide receivers, which might be week 2 against the Bears, listen, I'm not going to go crazy and say, hey, this is going to be a high-powered offense. I think this is the type of game I'd like to see from the Packers, right? The last time Aaron Rodgers, and it's been a long time, made it to the Super Bowl, he had a very good defense. You'll remember in the NFC Championship game, he played poorly, and if it wasn't for a B.J. Raji pick 6, they wouldn't have even beaten the Bears' third-string quarterback, Caleb Haney, who was in at the time. So Bears, Packers, the Packers are winning this game. Aaron Rodgers still owns us, unfortunately, as Chicago Bears fans. but it's going to be closer than you think. Justin Herbert in that monsoon last week still made some nice plays. That I know that one broken play where he rolls out, gets Dante Pettis for that 50-yard touchdown. So there's some good things. The Bears defense looked good. This game is, like I said, still going to go to the Packers, but it is going to be closer than 10 points. I'm taking the Bears in that one. All right. Speaking of yeah, that's what happens when I say Jets and Browns. Yeah. So the Jets go into Cleveland to play the Browns. The Browns are favored by 6 points. Can the Jets keep it close? The answer is no. And so I'm going with the Browns at home. That's a pretty easy one. If you're a Jets fan, I don't know what to tell you.
Emotional, damn it.
Pretty much. All right. Off to Detroit, another NFC North team here who, listen, Detroit, I thought, I'm so confused by Detroit. Maybe I was fooled by by Hard Knocks. And they came back a little bit last week, but now they have the Commanders coming in. The Lions are 2-point favorites. So I don't know how much of an upset this is going to be, but I liked what I saw out of Carson Wentz. I liked what I saw out of the Washington Commanders. I think the Lions keep it close as they always do. They'll be competitive at home. I got the Washington Commanders upsetting the Detroit Lions at home. That's the upset. I don't know if it's the pick of the week, but it's definitely an upset. All right. Now we're going to go down south. Tampa Bay knocked Dak Prescott out. Tampa Bay made Dallas look horrible. Tampa Bay got back to a style of game that we're used to seeing from Tom Brady, which was running the ball, play action passing, good defense. That's how he had his success in New England. Let's not forget. So if Leonard Fournette can run the ball, we saw a reinvigorated Julio Jones in Tampa. They now go into the Saints, who are three-point underdogs at home. I told you I like Jameis Winston. I kind of like what I'm seeing. Michael Thomas looks like he's working himself back into shape. Alvin Kamara, a little banged up, so we'll see what happens there. But I'm still going with the Bucs. The Bucs start 2-0. That's a touchdown. The Bucs win by a touchdown. Panthers and Giants. Wow. Two teams that could have been 1-0 if not for Carolina there at the end losing it to Cleveland. The Giants surprised the Tennessee Titans and they win in a horrible game that they never should have won, by the way. That was just terrible. I know you're all applauding. Let me pause for a minute and say you're all applauding, the going for 2 at the end there, but let's be honest. That was a horrible call. Horrible call. There's only 2 situations. Or there is 2 situations. So let me tell you. Earlier in the game, Daniel Jones throws a terrible pick in the end zone when they were in the red zone. He throws an end zone pick. Coach Dable goes out to him. You see them kind of arguing back and forth on the sideline. He needs to get his quarterback back. So what could he have done? He could have said, hey, we're going to go for 2. We're going to put the ball in your hands. Whatever the play call is, it could be an RPO. It could be a pass. Quarterbacks, whatever the play was, to say, I have confidence in you, Daniel Jones, as my quarterback, even though you threw that terrible pick and I gave you crap for it. Go win us this game. Go get that 2-point conversion. That would have been an okay call in my books because it gets that confidence back from your quarterback. Instead, what he does is he hands the ball off to Saquon Barkley. So now, nope, I'm not going to give my quarterback his confidence back. And if it's not for Saquon Barkley with a tremendous run, he should have been tackled 3 times on that play. And I get it. He was having a tremendous game. That call is what it is, even though they did get the 2-point conversions. A terrible call, but the Jets steal one against the Titans. So what does that bring us to? That brings us to Carolina with Baker Mayfield, with CMC, who didn't look like Christian McCaffrey in week 1. Going into New York and New York is 2.5-point favorites. They're going to come back down to earth, folks. They're not as good as you think they are. Both of these teams will be 1-1 after this week. Panthers win outright. The New England Patriots. What have I been telling you about the New England Patriots? I've told you that they're not going to be that good this season.
Bing bong.
And they're not. So they go into Pittsburgh, who won a horrible game, another game that no one should have won, against Cincinnati. Pats are favored by 1.5. That is actually, I expect that to change by game time, because the Steelers are not only going to, Pats aren't covering. Not only are the Pats not covering, but the Steelers win this game outright against New England. New England is not a very good team this season. Pittsburgh and specifically Mitch Trubisky will surprise you. Now, does that make them Super Bowl contenders? No. Does it make them playoff contenders? Borderline. But the Steelers will win this game against the Pats. The worst division in football right now is the AFC South. If I told you no team in the NFC South would come out of week 1 with a win when 2 of those teams are playing against each other, you would have said, Fluent, you're crazy. And yet that is exactly what happened. You have an 0-1 Texans team and an 0-1 Colts team. And then obviously the Jags and Titans are at 0-1. So now, does someone finally get a win when the Colts go in as 4-point favorites against the Jags? Here's the funny part. The Colts play horrible in Jacksonville. I don't know if it's they don't like, maybe they just don't like the humidity down there. But I'm going with, I don't know, is this the upset pick of the week? Maybe. I'm going with the Jags to win this game. And I'll take the Jags with the points, I guess, just to keep it safe, just in case they lose by 1. But I'm taking the Jags over with the points versus the Colts. Tua, Tariq, Waddle. We heard so much about the Miami Dolphins. They played great in week 1. They have a bit of a tougher matchup this week when they travel into Baltimore, who are favored by 3.5. Lamar Jackson looking like he's returning back to form. I'm really torn on this one, because at first I wanted to say Miami, and then I changed my mind, and I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is just going to get better week after week this season. I think he's going to have a MVP conversation type of season, and I think it starts here with Miami. Miami drops to 1-1. The Falcons. Listen, I told you the Falcons were going to be great, but I said, watch out for Marcus Mariota. He's going to be good. If, not spectacular, but good. He's got weapons in Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and people seem to forget about Cordero Patterson, who has really found a nice role in Atlanta. Unfortunately, they travel to LA to play the Rams. The Rams should be fuming at the way they played against the Buffalo Bills in week 1. Expect them to cover that 10 point and play like the Super Bowl champions that they are. I look for the Rams in a blowout over the Falcons. We actually have a few over the last set of games where we've got 10-point favorites, which is a lot in today's NFL. In fact, 3 out of the last 5 games we're going to cover are 10-point spreads. If you have questions about specific games, be it prop bets, over-unders, certain teams you want to put more focus on, if you want to be a guest of the show of Crunching the Numbers, just reach out to me, Anthony K, that's Anthony, and then the letter K, at sportsfluent.com. You can hit me up here in the comments as well, and we'll take care of that. So let's finish off the last 5. Let's finish them off strong, and let me show you. Here we go. Seahawks, surprising Seahawks with Geno Russell Wilson Smith at quarterback. Head down to San Francisco to play the 49ers with Trey Lance. They're giving the 49ers 10 points. Take the Seahawks, take the points. Niners probably win this game. Niners win this game, I should say. But it's going to be closer than 10. They did not listen. I get it. They were playing on Lake Michigan against the Bears in week 1, but I am not sold on Trey Lance. I don't think the 49ers are sold on Trey Lance, which is part of the reason they restructured, re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. The next one, here's another one. From that Seahawks Broncos matchup last week, the Houston Texans traveled to Denver. It'll be Russell Wilson's now home debut. He went and played against his old team in week 1. 10 points they're giving the Broncos. Listen, the Texans tied the Titans. I told you the Texans are going to be a competitive team, right? I said they're going to surprise you. They're going to be better than you think. This is one of the next game where we saw them blow a lead, unfortunately, to Tennessee. This is going to be the next game where they're going to show you that they're going to be competitive. Do the Broncos win? Yes. Are the Broncos as good as you think? No. I have the Broncos finishing last in a very, very competitive AFC West. But I think against the Texans, look, they get their win, but I think it's by less than 10. Like I said, I think the Texans, Lovie Smith teams tend to be very, defensive oriented, run the ball. Although I didn't like Pierce. I was really surprised that Pierce didn't get more carries. It was Rex Burkhead who led the charge for the running game. Yeah, they running. And so those are the things that I think will keep the Texans in this game against the Broncos. But in the end, Broncos win. But take the Texans with the 10 points. Cardinals got blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs last week. They go into Las Vegas, short little 4-hour trek, to face the Raiders, who looked terrible in the first half and started to look more like the team I expected to see in the second half. Devontae Adams, of course, still got his, but Derek Carr looked Derek Carr esque. And that's the big question mark, I think. When you look at that team, as we went back and we all say, hey, Derek Carr, was it Derek Carr just didn't have the opportunity? Some people said, no, look, he's just not a very good quarterback. Others said, well, didn't have the right pieces last season. There's so much turmoil going on with Jay Gruden and Ruggs and all those things that were going on. The fact that they still played as well as they did, hats off to them. This is the year now, reunited with his former college wide receiver in Devontae Adams, one of, if not the best wide receivers in the game. They have Darren Waller, one of, if not the best tight ends in the game. Hunter Renfrew, a great slot receiver. I really like Josh Jacobs. I know not everyone is as high on him as I am. The defense is as good. We all like Max I think Crosby there. The offensive line is a question mark for the Raiders. But if you're giving me the Cards and 6 points after getting blown out by the Chiefs, I start to want to say the Cardinals, but I have less faith in Kyler Murray than I do Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr bounces back, and I think the Raiders by a touchdown at home in this one. All right, we're down to 2 games left. Whew. Don't forget, we're on the Fired Up Network. And right after this, we have the Fantasy Grill. We're going to go through all your NFL fantasy. Although we're focused on football today, remember that crunching the numbers will talk baseball odds. Last week we talked prop bets. When the NBA season starts, we're going to do NFL and NBA. And then don't forget to check out Midday Mike, Mondays and Tuesdays at noon here on the Fired Up Network with myself and Joe, giving you the recap of all the NFL games, everything sports related on the Midday Mike, kind of a quick update on what's going on in the world of sports. So last 2 games, we have the Tennessee Titans traveling to Buffalo. Tennessee obviously just spoke about them, that tie against the Texans, going into Buffalo, who looked great. I shouldn't say looked great because they didn't always look great. Josh Allen made a few mistakes. The team made a few mistakes. There was a lot of things that we talked about after that they need to clean up. If that's a game that they need to clean up and that's how they play and beat the Rams, that's pretty impressive. So they've got a 10 points against the Titans. I think they do it. I think the Bills win big versus Tennessee. I expect that line to change a little bit, but again, by game time, but I'm still going Bills over the Titans in a big one. All right. And that's actually your Monday nighter. Well, actually, we have 2 Monday nighters. Normally, week 1 has the 2 Monday Nighters. This year, they've made it week 2. The Vikings, who I've picked to win the NFC North, going against the team I picked to win the NFC East in the Eagles. Eagles are favored by 2 in Philadelphia. The Vikings should win this game. The Vikings should win this game. I'm going to say it. Should I say it for the third time? That the Vikings should win this game? I'm talking about the Vikings should win this game, but it's Kirk Cousins. It's Kirk Cousins in prime time. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles covering that 2 points, probably by, we saw a lot of bad kicks in week 1. I think the Eagles come through and win by a field goal. A field goal. Yes. The Eagles win by a field goal because Kirk Cousins just isn't that guy who can get it done in prime time.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Is it shots fired? It's just proof. That's facts. So that's it for this week of Crunching the Numbers. Send us your questions, Anthony K at sportsfluent.com. If you want to be a guest on Crunching the Numbers, let us know. Until next time, now you're more fluent.